A very warm welcome here from the Lufthansa Aviation Training Center in Zurich. As you can see, it is empty. There are not many people, a situation you probably all know. Now, usually this place here is a very busy and very crowded area, from employees to crew members, and usually there's a lot of chatting and laughing going on. People talk about their last flights, future flights, layovers, destinations, and obviously they also talk about what to expect in the training. What's coming today? Is it emergency training? Is it human factors training? Is it service training? Whatever it is. Is it a test? And unfortunately, as you can see, it's quiet around here. Now, our hearts and our minds are fully focusing on training usually. We love working on trainings. We love developing trainings. We love to discuss safety and how we can improve safety better, how develop competences, what are new ways of training, and our main focus is on people. For all around us on the globe, I wish us all that in the future, in the near future, we will have some normality back. Normality back at work, normality back at the trainings in the trainings environment. But also, I hope for us that soon we can fly our passengers safely and showing our smiles and not wearing a mask day by day. Today we have picked a topic dealing with challenges. And as you all know, there are many challenges out there, professionally and privately. And when you deal with challenges or complex situations or new situations, the first thing you have to perceive them. That means what's going on, what's happening, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for safety of the aircraft, of the passengers, of the crew? What might be some of the consequences? And no matter if it is the pandemic where we are currently in, or if it is interpersonal conflicts, or home office, or all the virtual meetings right now, or even the virtual training that we go through day by day. What is important is good situation awareness. The next step is acknowledge. You have to acknowledge the situation. Yes, I'm now affected of this situation. I have to act. It is important that you're ready and that you are open for change and open for taking some action. The next step is you have to solve it. So you have to find a solution for it. Use your skills, use the procedures, use your experience, and be creative and try something new if really needed. Maybe also involve others. Ask others how they feel, how they handle a situation like that. Do they have any experience? Classic crew resource management. And the last one is anticipate. What does that mean in the future? What do I have to change? What do we have to change? How did we deal with this challenge? And be ready for new challenges. Because one thing I can assure you, there will be new challenges ahead of them. Some of them we know, some of them might be new to us. Now, dealing and accepting with challenges and new situations is extremely important for our industry. But also the people play a crucial role. That is why we created a small video that shows how important the human factor is. Please enjoy this small video.
Beyond every crisis. Beyond every vision. And even beyond aviation. To build up competencies, we must understand the human. Consider opportunities from new technologies, accept challenges from new circumstances, and adapt to the pace of learning and education. Humans have evolved over time and will continue to evolve. The environment plays a decisive role in this, as well as your family, friends, mentors, and us as a reliable training partner. That is why we focus on people. We increase safety together. We want to inspire. We connect industries and cultures. We train and strengthen interpersonal skills and competencies. We provide the necessary attitudes, behaviors, and mindset. We train for your safety, quality, and reliability. Whether doctors, customers, executives, crew members, or employees, we train you because we believe in the human. The human factor.
And yes, I do believe in the human. Our environment is changing steadily and rapidly. The technology, demands, expectations, and the regulations. That is why we have to adapt and be ready for what is needed now and also in the future. And here we are. The keyword is now and in the future. As mentioned in the video, training plays a decisive role. Similar to dealing with challenges or change, we need to ask ourselves, is the training the way we do it today the right one? Should the training be the same as it was before the crisis, or should it be the same as it was during the crisis? How long can we continue with all these online meetings, online trainings, virtual trainings, and what is the real learning effect of all of this? One thing, I do hope that you agree with me, with us, that training should never be just a tick in the box. Training can and should be so much more, and this is why I would like to hand over now to Bertie, my colleague who is sitting in Munich, and who will take you on a journey today, how a training can or should look like in the future. He perceived it, he acknowledged it, and he has a solution for you. Bertie, you have control.
Thank you, Martin. Well, indeed, when faced with the COVID-19 pandemic, the authorities issued the alleviation to support the airlines, and there have been a sort of relief for the airlines also. But these alternate means of training, they are only interim in nature, so they will not be obvious to be used and suitable for restarting operations in the future, because we would have to focus on mitigating the risks associated with the alleviations, such as absence from actual practical training, which has to be rehearsed again for cabin crews to regain their competencies when going on board. So what we're going to do here is go through different practices on this journey and presentation with you here at our training center in Munich, explaining to you different methods. Well, we all know how boring CBTs could turn out to be. And during the pandemic, airlines have much focused on the use of using digital tools as well as virtual classroom. But too much computer-based training and online training for the cabin crew could be accompanied with negative effects also. Let us think from the perspective of the cabin crew, leaving them for hours from home in front of the computer to accomplish such CBTs. That could become a little bit passive. So if we think from their perspective, what do they think about it? Are they left alone? Are they responsible for their own training? So there is an opportunity here, however. If we do need online training for the cabin crew as a web-based training, it might be an opportunity to use virtual classroom to complement such computer-based training, because computer-based training can also be very effective if we take the example of teaching aircraft systems, because teaching aircraft systems in a classroom is not that effective due to the level of interactions. So if a CBT is well designed, the contents are properly displayed, it will be very effective. But just turning actual PowerPoints on a specific training contents into a slideshow for the cabin crew to read through might not be effective. So it is very important when designing any new training to really look at the situation and the issues from the perspective of the cabin crew also, and keep in mind the purpose of the training. We want them to acquire a specific knowledge that they will later apply as a skills in other types of training. Digital tools are really promising alternate means of training in the future. The pace at which technological development is taking place will definitely cause a change in the nature of training for the future. Welcome to our virtual reality hub at Lufthansa Aviation Training Center. We opted for this training method in 2018 to train a specific part of our recurrent training for 22,000 cabin crew every year. It fits our strategy, our training objectives, and its purpose makes sense within our training program. But when we designed this training, we also laid much emphasis on the trainees of how they're going to use it and which benefit they're going to gain from the system. Not only the effectiveness and the efficiency that we, of course, were planning for integrating this part of the training. As you can see here, it is a very realistic training that we apply and implemented. We can train simultaneously several cabin crew at once, and from a centrally monitored system, we can observe the actions of the cabin crew, and from this system we can automatically monitor whether the steps for the procedures and the procedures themselves are being adhered to by the cabin crew when accomplishing any task. And as an example, for a practical exercise, we zoom the cabin crew into a specific area of the aircraft, and they have to accomplish a specific task also. So we avoided to use controllers and enable the cabin crew to use their own hands to visually also scan an area like they would do it on an aircraft using the system that we have designed here in order to enable a realistic and effective training. Of course, as we mentioned, it is very effective in a sense that you can use it to simulate realistic scenarios, and we use it for this purpose and to ensure that the cabin crew can apply their knowledge and their skills and demonstrate their competencies in applying such skills. Despite the effectiveness of such a tool, we must acknowledge that there are certain limitations. We use it for a maximum of 30 minutes because beyond that, it can get uncomfortable. And by the way, you cannot substitute all training through virtual reality, but you can use them to enhance your existing training. So it is key to really perceive which training elements you have available and which learning outcomes need to be accomplished. There is much opportunity for excellence, and we need to anticipate for the best combination of training practices for the respective learning outcome. We at Lufthansa Aviation Training are convinced that a diversified, well-balanced approach incorporating distance learning, use of various digital tools, and face-to-face training would be the most suitable one in order to train the competencies of cabin crew for the sake of the operators and the cabin crew members themselves. Even the most modern digital tools will not be able to train certain training contents where the cabin crew need to feel the forces while operating specific equipment, like operating the door with the forces which need to be interacted. As an example, when training the evacuation procedures, we would still need such a cabin simulator. Because if you want to train the cabin crew to quickly unfasten their seatbelt, apply the door procedures to open the door in an emergency, and even with a power assist system failure where they would need a greater force, and communicate and coordinate tasks at the same time, it would be more suitable in this environment. However, you could also let the cabin crew experience, for example, crowd control in a separate session in a virtual reality, because here you do not have the crowd to simulate a crowd control. But in a virtual reality session, they would be able to experience how passengers are rushing towards them at the door in order to trigger in their mind which procedure would make sense and why do they make sense. Similarly, other types of similar scenarios could be used for cabin crew to experience it and develop the skills and apply the competencies later on in exercises which are then carried out here in such simulators together with other team members of the crew. We believe that a face-to-face training in an environment like this one, with a great focus on the competencies that need to be acquired by the cabin crew, for example, through scenario-based training in here, would be really effective. Of course, prior to attending the face-to-face training, we can run CBT sessions, online trainings, for example, for acquiring the knowledge through a CBT, which is then complemented by virtual classroom training to support the cabin crew, and afterwards enable the cabin crew to experience different scenarios in a virtual reality environment so that they can gain the skills and experience what is going to happen before then joining up with their team in this cabin simulator and run through different scenario-based exercises where they would have to apply their skills, knowledge, and demonstrate their competencies, coordinate tasks, use CRM principles, and afterwards reflect upon their actions and think about how they could get even better. So in designing a new training for the future, it is key to take a holistic approach. We need to involve all the stakeholders, for example, the authorities concerning the regulations, the airlines themselves, and its training department or training organization to be able to develop such training, to be able to implement such training, and without forgetting, of course, to look at the issues from the perspective of the cabin crew in order to ensure that the training would fit their expectation and how they would be able afterwards to implement such training. I hope you enjoyed this part of the presentation on the training practices and differences. And I will now hand over to my colleague Martin to take over and go through some very important human factors in Zurich. Martin, you've got control.
Thank you, Bertie. Well, training can be so exciting, and there are so many opportunities and different ways out there to do training. Yes, there are many regulations. Yes, it costs money, and yes, it needs time. But with a good training, creative methods, we can create the right mindset. We can create trust. We can build up identification. We can make it long-lasting, and we can prepare our crews for everything that is ahead of them, no matter if it's a pandemic or if it's a challenging or complex situation. We train and strengthen their competences to avoid incidents. As a company and as a trainings provider, it is our responsibility to develop and deliver a meaningful and effective training for our crews. The role and responsibility of the trainees is to be open and ready to learn new things, adapt and act professionally, day by day, And that is what I want to close with today, professionalism. Now, professionalism, it's not the job you do, it's how you do the job. It's the same with the training, what we just discussed. It's also with dealing challenges. It's the way how you deal with challenges. It's the way how you do the training. Professionalism is a multidimensional set of performance, attitudes, skills, and behaviors that is anchored in ethical conduct and continuous improvement. Now, to sum that up, what you need for professionalism are competences and knowledge. What we discussed, it's our job to train these competences, to give our crew members the knowledge. It's diligence, it's responsibility, but it's also honesty. Honesty, what a situation like a pandemic or like complex situations or complex passengers, what does it do with you? You know, what is your experience? You know, how do you feel? It's also respect for your job. Yeah, it's also humility. It's also being a team player, but it's also being fit for duty. I know it's not always easy. We come from an area with high workload and we go to an area with very low workload, and hopefully we go soon back up to high workload again, you know. Nobody knows how the body reacts. You know, it's okay, you know, if you're a bit down, it's okay to have feelings, you know, but be honest, are you able to do the job? Trust in yourself, trust in the team, trust also in the organization. Be open for change. And also, and I think that's also crucial for now, show emotional intelligence. That means be there for each other, you know, care, show this empathy. Empathy, what you show day by day with the passengers, show it also within the crew. And of course, also privately, empathy is always good to have and to show. Being challenged in life is unavoidable. Being defeated is optional. We do believe that we will not be defeated. It's us how we react to this situation, and I do know that we all will get out stronger than we were before the pandemic. Now, we hope that with this presentation, that Birdie and I could give you some new food for thought, some inspiration, some tips. In the name of Birdie and me, we would like to thank you for listening. We are very sorry that we could not be there in Florida with you this time, but we will be there live to answer some of your questions. Please stay healthy and happy landings to all of you.